Welcome back, everybody, to the single player world. We are starting a brand new area today, and it's going to be a very awesome, interesting area. So let's go through here. You might be familiar with it, you may not be. If you're new, of course, you may not have seen this. This was what we did very long ago. This was in the beginning of the world. Maybe not that long ago. I guess long ago in terms of the history of this world, but fairly recently, I guess, realistically. But don't worry, we've got some cool stuff. We're going to be working along this path. This path is basically a project of its own. As you walk down this path, you're going to see pretty much everything that this place has to offer in some way, and we've got a whole bunch of other stuff going on in it. So if you guys want to catch up on that, of course, there's a bunch of episodes, probably around episode 30, I'd say, or 20s. We were working a lot on this area, but now we return, go through the customs, and also this is on the other side of the world. So this is the southwestern side of the world, completely different place than what we've been in recently. So you may not be too familiar with it, but look at this, a clear open land. What are we going to do here? This is going to be the future small spot of our farmland, and this farmland is going to be insane. It's going to be huge. It's going to be much better than what we've ever done before. And I hope it can be quite an original thing. And of course, as with this part of the world, the most important part of it is the scenery around it, the landscaping, the terraforming. And you can see around here, this is a stream village, which we've been working on quite a while ago. We haven't actually touched it in a while, but we've got a monster mountain. That mountain is going to end up being the largest mountain that I've ever built, and the largest mountain in this world. But as you can tell, it's taking a lot of time. It's a very large one. We will finish it though, and probably sooner rather than later, to be completely honest. And that adds into the mountain range that's all the way on the other side in Frusendal, the snowy village. So that's a little bit of a connection over here. It's actually not as far away as you would expect from where we are. But let's start over here today. What we are doing is we are busy getting this area all set up so that we can actually build and have our stuff with our terraforming done already, because terraforming a bit later doesn't really work too well. But a few things we can learn about, for instance, the content of the actual farmland, is instead of just focusing on the terraforming, of course, we have to build windmills, we have to build barns, we have to build houses for people to stay in. There's a lot of things, silos, perhaps an outpost. There's so much stuff that we have to put in here along your way to the main village, the main city, which will eventually be over that hill there. So what I want to do is, I think there's a lot that, as I say, can be learnt, and we have already done something like this before. You may remember from the very first world what we were doing. So how about we step over there and take some notes. This is the world I learned how to build on, and kind of the way I sort of started in single player vanilla Minecraft myself, which is probably about, I think it was just over a year. I think it was a year and 4 months worth of building in this place, learning things such as terraforming, mountain building, landscaping, how not to build a boat, village making, and how not to make villages as well. And just overall where I learned how to build things. And one of my crown jewels of this world, at least what I loved, was this windmill. I loved the way that it looked. It looks like it's moving. It worked so well for me. And I really want to be able to do this justice, and this area justice, because this started off as what was going to be a small windmill. It kept getting bigger and bigger, and eventually it was like this. And this farmland was actually so much fun just to do. Even though you've got these different levels of crops around here, these little mundane things, such as planting a bunch of crops, made a very big difference to this area and really this world in general. So take a look at what we've got. We've got farmhouses, we got barns, we got more barns with stables. Those were actually silos, but I would like to make my silos a bit different. Some woodland in the background. These are the sorts of things which we want to take from, but I think this area that I've got planned in my head is going to be way different to this. So it's not going to be very structured. It's also not going to have quite as many things as this. It's going to be a much larger area. And also, of course, we're going to be building it in a somewhat of a valley, and it's a valley crossed with a canyon. There's a canyon on one side of it, and it's built in a valley, if everything turns out the way that I've currently planned it, at least. But this over here is something that I thought we could maybe take a bit of inspiration from and have a look and see what we learnt from this. And what I can tell you is that having these large open areas is not a bad thing. That's not a very bad thing, but what I do think we need to do is use caution with them as well, because having too many of them could be a bad thing. So we have to consider that. But besides that, also one thing I have learnt is doing it the Minecraft way. You can see all these slabs over here, all those spruce slabs. Those were built there, well, they were placed there specifically so that we could put water and make the whole farmland completely irrigated. I think that's a bit of a waste, to be honest. I'd prefer to keep it on the lines of keeping everything looking good versus functioning in Minecraft. So what we'll be doing is we won't be doing that. Everything will grow slower because, of course, we won't have water, but it'll grow in the end. It's not a big deal. They look exactly the same. They just take a little bit longer to grow. We can AFK for that. That's not a big deal. But besides that, we also want to have a lot more pathing going on. I think this kind of path was fantastic. It works so well. It gives you the idea that certain pieces are traveled more, certain pieces are used more. That's something we can take away from that, but I would like to make the path a bit more structured as well. That's a bit more of a structured thing. So while we're doing that, and also no scarecrows. That'll ruin it. But it's worth a try. So we'll get going back on that. What I want to do with the plat that we've just been working on is I want to go ahead and put in a large ridge or a large mountain. You could see the planning for it there with all the dirt. Well, you can't see it right now, but it was there. And you can see all the planning there, which we're just going to fill in. And that will be one of the sides of the small valley that we'll be working with. There it is, looking good, and overall working very well with my plan for this area. So let me quickly walk you through here. Picture a whole bunch of fields filled with wheat. We're going to come around this way, actually. Well, let's maybe go around here. So you've got this path running over here, coming down, and eventually looping in to come down into this area, which will eventually be the valley. And this is going to have all these fields full of wheat. It's going to have a windmill. It's going to have a whole bunch of barns and silos and farmyard and farmland around there. And it's probably going to push roundabout to that tree. Roughly that tree's kind of a spot there. So pretty far. And what we are going to do is we're going to eventually clear this out. You can see there's a ravine there. There's water everywhere. We're going to have to redo all this. This is not a big deal, actually. It's not a very tough thing to do because a lot of it's just filling in a few little lakes, 1 block deep ones as well, which is perfect. And then, of course, just cutting down some trees, which we need the spruce anyway. So, you know, we were going to do it in any case. So this just makes us actually as efficient, more efficient than before. Collecting it while we're clearing something as well. And that's pretty much how we're going to do this. And we'll also do a similar sort of thing where we use our own custom terrain to make that bottom piece look a bit more interesting, this bottom piece here. But that's not this episode. That will be probably next episode, in fact. What we're doing in this episode is we're going to be working on the path going down from there all the way to loop around here. And it's not actually going to be extremely difficult, but I think we can do a lot of interesting things because this path over here, if we go up to the top, right there we go, is already built. It's already started, and we're going to just continue this on. So the best way to do it is obviously just to make like a custom little bit of a piece here so we know where we're working. And what I like to do is I like to go piece by piece and think about what can we add in to make a path look more interesting. Could we, for instance, put in some trees, maybe just a little tree. Maybe we could do something else. So the point is that we're going to have this path running around here. I want to make it interesting. I want to start having some rocks, maybe a few rocks that have fallen down. You can see where a lot of wagons and carts go across. There might be some spots where rocks are falling down. There may be a tree that's in the way. There may be a little cart along the way. Actually, what I do want to do today is I want to build a cart on the road, or maybe just off the side of the road. And also this piece over here, look at this, half done, of course, because we still have to do all that. We've got a half done mountain there, another half done mountain. A lot of things are in progress, but while we're here, I want to show you what this looks like. What we could picture this area over here from this angle to look like. Whoa, okay, try it again. In fact, maybe we could do that. Yeah, that's good. And there. That was terrible. That was a horrible throw. All right, one last time. That should be it. That should be the distance. Okay. Never mind. But picture it from down here. You can still see it. There's that mountain coming up over here. We've got this path over here. So as you can see there, you'll see the cart slowly coming down the path, going around here to the flat lands down at the bottom. And picture that mountain over there. It's going to be slightly snow-capped. Not going to be quite as much as the previous mountains, but it's going to have some snow, going to have a little bit of a river running down it. And that's pretty much what we are working with currently. So how about we get into the actual path and stuff like that right now. And overall, I kind of always think this is a weird thing with paths because you see paths all the time. A lot of people ask if I can actually do a tutorial on how to make paths and what I think about paths. But the weird thing about paths is every time I think there's something new, every time I think there can't be something new, something new does appear. There's always a new block. I always wonder what the next new path block will be that people use. For instance, people use granite, they use spruce wood, they have dark oak wood, and honestly, for each of them, they kind of work in their own way, depending on what you're trying to do. Some of them you might say won't work, but it depends on where they're used, of course. But many times, there's something completely different when I look at someone's path. So that's pretty much the difficult part about making paths, or making a tutorial on paths, is thinking about what path you need. For this one, for instance, we're trying to make it look a little bit more like it's merging in from here. There's a little bit of a thing we got to fix up there. Can I get that in there? Yep, cool. That should, I'm pretty sure this one will let that become a dirt block. We'll have that as a test. But pretty much what we're trying to do here is make it go from this now slowly to try and merge it into this part here. So if we can perhaps do a little bit there, maybe one of these over here. In fact, we can maybe do one of those there to make that a little bit darker. And then we could just pull this up like that. In fact, yeah, this has to change anyway. I'm going to be doing this here. So like that. And the same over here, like this. So you see, the thing is, you never know what path block is going to necessarily work every time you do it. So having this kind of variance with the spruce, the path, I think it's a pretty safe way to do it. And of course, we could try work in a few of our own custom blocks in at some point. For instance, like putting in a bit of spruce. Like here, for instance. That'll work. In fact, I like to do this over here where I put a full block and it makes it a little bit darker than that. Around there, for instance. Around here, we can do one of these. Okay, like that, that's fine. That'll work its way out. Yeah, that works pretty well. That looks very good, actually. So, now as we walk up here, this is a little area done. We don't have to do too much at a time. We do piece by piece. So you see this looking good. What we could perhaps do is maybe some bushes over here. Just a few things to break up the area. And these sheep, we've got so many sheep because everything in this area is just spawning and respawning every time I get rid of it. It just keeps respawning because it's pretty much the few spots where there's grass around me that are loaded. They load. They spawn these guys in. So there we go. Walk around there. That's good. And then perhaps on this side here, just to take your view away from this point here, because you're going to walk around and then bam, that mountain's going to hit you. I don't want that mountain to hit you over here where you kind of walk in. We'll have some trees. We'll get proper custom trees in here, but you can see a little bit of a mountain. And as you turn this corner, bam, mountain hits you. You see the valley over here. We'll have another little mountain over there. Valley full of crops and, well, full of wheat and a big windmill and a big bunch of farms and stuff. Well, farmland. No, farmhouses. That's the one. Farmhouses over there. That's the thought, at least. So let's get another little piece in here. A custom tree. This is one of my favorite things to do. And, I definitely have done my fair share of custom trees, but they're a bunch of fun. So how about we get one of these guys in, just a small one, nothing too large, but I think doing something like this will be great to just cover it up. And as I tell you, it's just get rid of the little view that you have of the mountain to make sure that you don't know that it's necessarily popping up around that corner. It's a big wow factor, really. We need these to be grounded like that. Perfect. All right. So I don't think I've got quite enough spruce, but this is going to be a fairly small tree, so we may be able to make it something like this. And we'll go along the same lines of those custom trees like that, but a miniature one. Because, of course, we need to keep it as if this is one forest with a whole bunch of the same sort of tree, the same species, the same variety. There we go. And over here. And I don't actually know what these trees are. I like to call them the, like, hanging spruce, but they're really a combination between a willow tree and a spruce. And we came up with them in the snow biome, in fact, when we were busy with them. There was just a time where I thought, you know, I'm kind of bored of the trees I'm doing right now. Let's try something a little bit different. And I tried, or a droopy. I think I called them a droopy spruce, actually. I think that was what it was. Because I couldn't think of a name for them, but I was trying to make spruce trees, and I made them a bit droopy, and this is what came out. So we stuck with it, and it makes them look very interesting. That's for sure. So there, maybe a little bit at the back here. That's too much on that side. Actually, that's fine. We can do this. So how does that look? Yeah, that needs a little bit more because we're going for a bit of a overhang here. You can see where we pushed that log there. So we do need to make this look like it's hanging over. And we do need to also get a little bit of leaves to finish that one off. Plus, it's going to nighttime. Okay, well, I guess what we'll do is we'll get that tree and we'll sleep, and then we can carry on with the path. And we're back. Look at that. Tree's looking good. We've got a few more things done, and I just thought I'd really show you guys exactly why building buildings is not necessarily the only thing you can do in Minecraft. I think it's very quick. You're very quick to jump normally to building a building. I know I am. I'm very guilty of it, where I immediately think, you know, what do I build today? Do I build a bakery? Do I build whatever? And really, I think the thing that we miss out on is all the bits in between, like the paths, the trees, and stuff like that. And I think they make the biggest difference, honestly. These things are, this path over here, think about it from this way. Look at this. Walking up here, got ourselves this beautiful path, got a tree coming off the side. We've only done a bit of it. We've done it up to round about there. So coming up here, we've got a tree growing out the rocks. I still have to do the custom tree over here. I just kind of used an original spruce tree, and I'm sprucing it up. Let's put it that way. We're sprucing up the spruce trees. And go up to this way, and this thing's looking significantly more interesting, a lot different to what it was originally. And obviously, piece by piece, we can get that all done. But I thought it would just be a good place to stop off and show you guys that really it's easy to get yourself caught up in just building buildings, but there's all these other things you can really go into. And honestly, that's probably the biggest change I've made in recent times, at least, maybe in the past year, I guess, to building a little bit more interesting, a little bit better than what I used to, or at least appreciating my buildings a little bit more than I used to. Now, I came here for two things, I'm pretty sure. I think I had two ideas in my mind, but I can't remember what they were now. So, yes, I know what it was. Do we have any iron? That is the thing I was hoping for. Nothing in there. Okay, it looks like we might not have iron on us, so we can't pick up any ferns right now. That's not a big deal. That's not a major problem. I'd like to be able to pick up ferns, but if we can't pick them up, that's fine as well. So how about we go back to the path? Actually, can we do some cool acrobatics here? There we go. Look at that. Perfect. That wasn't intended. So what we want to do here is we want to just get a little bit of smaller things. So, for instance, a bit of grass, a bit more grass down there. Okay, you know what? I don't mind the new poppies, but I'm going to get rid of them because we're just testing out this pack. We're not necessarily going to use it, so I won't put that there just yet. So we do that, we'll eventually get this area looking good, all rocky and stuff as well. But one thing I do want to do is get a lot more of this rock stuff. For instance, trees growing out of rocks, just rocks in general being around the place. I want to do that just because I think that does make a world of a difference there. We'll get rid of some of those. I hope this doesn't keep spreading over. I can't remember exactly how the mushrooms work. I hope they don't, but if we eventually have a big mushroom problem, we'll get rid of them. It's not that big of a deal. So there we go. Oh, I actually wanted that. There we go. Let's see what this is looking like. A bit more there, a bit more there. And normally we wouldn't do too much grass around the place. I'd probably get rid of a lot of the grass. But because we're out in the open, we're out in the wild, I think we can get away with a bit more grass than we usually do. There we go. And these sheep, man. There we go. We got it. Don't worry. It's gone. There we go. Looking a lot better. Just a few little pieces of grass, a little tuft over there. A few of these taller ones. Making a world of difference. So here's the first part, right? So we've done this path up to here. We've got the natural stuff in it. Now the next thing is, I guess, getting a bit more of the man-made aspect of it. The feeling like this is a path that gets walked through. This is a path that was made for a reason. And just like making little progressions like this, instead of trying to fit it all together, helps a lot. So we'll grab ourselves some oak wood. We'll grab ourselves some fence posts. I don't like those. I wanted to actually spruce fence posts. So let's make a few of them. There it is. There we go. Perfect. So if we get maybe, I think it is 10 is the magic number. It should be 10. And then we do that there. I think there, like that. That should, I'm pretty sure, yeah, be the perfect number. There's just a thing. I like to use every last thing in my recipes. That's why I always land up with 6 doors, because I have to make, whenever I make doors, for instance, spruce doors, I take 3 spruce logs just to make them, just because I feel a bit weird if I don't put them all together. So there we go. Let's get the oak. We've got some spruce slabs, which is fantastic. And we can make ourselves a few little pillars here, as if to stop you from getting off the path. So if we do something like this, and a thing over there, just a fence gate, more or less. And really, I'd prefer that, yeah, to maybe have something like this. Let's do that. Just like this. Nothing that really means much, but what it does do is it pushes you off to the side. This one is a bit invasive though. In fact, maybe putting it in over here would be a slightly better option. Like that. And something like that. In which case we can put that back and then replace this. And one of those. There we go. Got that piece of oak. That stuff is so valuable to me, that oak. There we go. That's better. It doesn't get quite as much in your face, but it gives you this impression of men have been working here. We have a whole bunch of man-made stuff. We put some stuff over here. We can maybe put in another one of these, another one of those, and maybe one of them there and one of these, like that, just to block it off. Don't have to do too many of them, but not only do they offer that definite people were here feeling, at least, it gives you the impression that it's a lot more held in. You know, you're walking through here, you can see down there, and that's blocking you from going down there, blocking you from falling off the edge, as if it's a bit of a safety thing, and I think that works a lot better than just leaving that blank. So what we're going to do is we're going to continue on with this path a little bit more. I don't know if we'll be able to finish the whole thing, because of course that over there is taking its time to replace over with grass for the path, but I think we can get a solid amount of this path done right now. Now let's go through it one more time. Look at this. Looking good. Obviously those straight trees have to go, but I've got a little bit more of a tree there. I'm really looking forward to that being put in, but we managed to get quite a far way down this path, and I want to show you what it looks like from the bottom as well, because that's looking fantastic. And remember, we want this world to have certain points where we look out. For instance, here would be an absolutely awesome shot. You see the potato farms on this side. You'll see the village that's all going to be built up in this mountain. You'll see the mountain. That'll be a really awesome shot, actually, just to sit off the side here. And eventually we'll have the cliff as well, just to look over here, which will be great. However, this world is three-dimensional, and we have some other places which we can look at these places from. And obviously down in the farm would be a great place to look up here. And look at that. This is, well, we've worked from this area here to that area there today, and it's starting to look very good. You can see the nighttime falling as well. Man, I'm actually very happy with the way this has turned out. And in fact, even a little bit of a flyover doesn't do it too bad. Look at that. Very, very cool. And I've added some parts over here at the bottom where you can see the rocks are being held up, which could have been falling. Things along these lines, little things all add up, sorry, and eventually look cool. Yeah, looking pretty good. So thank you everybody for joining me today. I've had a great time doing this. I hope you guys have enjoyed it, and I'll see you in the next one.